Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a conversation right now. We're going to be talking about the police and we're going to be talking about their authority and whether or not they have the authority to do most of the things that they claim they have the authority to do, and whether or not the courts have the authority to delegate that authority to them to do whatever it is they want to do. See, the courts keep claiming that the police can do whatever they want, that as long as they are defending themselves, they can kill. They can shoot someone 99 times. Go back. Huey P. Newton. Huey P. Newton. They can shoot someone 99 times. That's justified. Justified. Yep. Justified. When there was only one bullet fired, and it wasn't even the situation. They broke into his house unannounced, and he was sitting up there trying to protect his family from some intruder breaking into his house because they didn't announce themselves. They do that on purpose, by the way. Hold on. Let's go ahead and have this conversation. I'm going to have a conversation with Covington Law Pro. Wake up. I am curious about a couple of things, and I'm hoping you can help me with an understanding. Period. There is a difference between constitutional jurisdiction and administrative jurisdiction? Question mark. Constitutional jurisdiction and statutory jurisdiction? Question mark. And when responding to me, don't give me nuances or clarifications or a long, drawn out answer. I want you to be succinct, comma, specific, and to the point. Stop listening. Ladies and gentlemen, police officers are under the Attorney General's wing, whether on the federal level or the state level. Police officers operate under the Attorney General. That's an administrative branch of government. So the police authority is administrative. We're going to prove that in a second. Constitutional jurisdiction and administrative jurisdiction and statutory jurisdiction. Constitutional authority or jurisdiction is rooted in the Constitution as the supreme law of the land. The courts don't care about the courts. Examples include interpreting the First Amendment. The courts don't get to interpret the First Amendment. That's not their job. The First Amendment says what it says. There's no interpretation of it. We know what the intent of it was because it says exactly what it says. Administrative jurisdiction derives from administrative agencies created by statute. Now, that's very important. Administrative jurisdiction comes from administrative agencies. Now, you guys don't know where I'm going yet, but you're going to get to where I'm going, especially if I keep talking like this. So let me not hold y'all up any further ado because, 80 do. We don't want y'all a-doing, so we're going to unado y'all. All right, so let's go to statutory jurisdiction because I'm curious about statutory jurisdiction. Now, statutory jurisdiction is established explicitly by statute, enacted by the legislature. No, the legislature doesn't enact statute. No, I got to correct him on that. Wake up. You are a liar, comma. The legislature does not enact statutes, comma. They enact law. Comma, in the United States, Congress can only enact law. State legislatures can only enact law. They cannot enact a statute. Exclamation mark. The statutes at large are only evidence of what the law is. It is not law in and of itself. Exclamation mark. It is the act of Congress that is the law, supported by the statutes at large in a congressional record in conjunction with the Constitution. Exclamation mark. Stop listening. He's going to tell me I'm correct. Let's see. TikTok. You are correct. And emphasizing the distinction between law and statutes. Congress writes laws. They don't write statutes. The only statutes written by Congress are the statutes at large. The state level, your state legislatures do not write statutes. They write legislative acts, Senate bills, House bills, and they pass that junk. But that's all they write. They don't write statutes. They don't write revised statutes. Codification. Wake up. What did I tell your stupid anus about anus? Nuances, comma, no one asked you about codification, did they? Comma, codes are not statutes and statutes are not codes, you idiot. Comma, codes are not laws and codes are not enacted by Congress. Exclamation mark. Only laws enacted by Congress are held in conjunction with the Constitution as binding. Stop listening. He tries to get technical with me and he can't. Acknowledged. Here is a precise blah, 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 blah. Congress enact laws, not codes or statutes. Statutes at large are the authentic and legal evidence of the laws passed by Congress, the acts of Congress. Codes such as the United States codes are compilations and clarifications, a classification of the laws with reference to purpose only and are not in and of themselves laws explicitly enacted into positive law by Congress. It doesn't matter whether it's positive law or negative law, ladies and gentlemen. The code is not enacted by Congress. The revised statutes of your states are not enacted by your state legislature. That junk ain't law. I'm about to show you what that junk is. We're going to change subjects for a second. My next question is, wake up. We're going to change subjects for a second. My next question is, under what branch of government are police officers respecting their authority? Question mark. Stop listening. Ladies and gentlemen, it's real simple. Police officers operate under the executive or administrative branch of government. Now, I want you to pay attention. This is very important. So, police officers are administrative officers. Wake up. So, police officers are administrative officers. What did I tell you about nuances and clarifications and run-on sentences and your stupid ignorance of trying to explain more than what I'm asking you for? Stop listening. Yes, police officers are administrative officers under the executive branch. Yay! See, that's how simple the question is. Police officers operate administratively. Okay, now pay attention. Wake up. So, police officers can only handle core matters, that they have no jurisdiction over non core matters. And I demand that you are specific with facts and conclusions of law when responding to my questions henceforth. Stop listening. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. He's not going to want to answer. See, that's not the answer to my question. So we're going to do that again. because he's talking about under the principle, and nobody's talking about principles. We're talking about law. So 1 second. Sorry, he did it again. And he going on and on and on and on to the break of somebody else's dawn. Da 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 da. No, wake up. Nobody asked you about separation of powers. Wake up. Nobody asked you about separation of powers. Comma, the question was specific. Comma, that they are administrative officers and that they have no jurisdiction respecting core, non-core matters. Period. I don't want no nuances. Comma, the law is always read as written, and the law is always straightforward. Comma, the law doesn't have nuances. So you are not permitted to give me nuances, you idiot. Stop listening. Sorry, he's stupid. Yes, police officers, as administrative officers, have jurisdiction only over core matters related to law enforcement, as explicitly defined in the statute and ordinances. They lack jurisdiction over non-core matters, which fall within the delegated authority of the judicial branch. Some of y'all are starting to pick up where we're headed. Give me a second. Wake up. So when a police officer is enforcing a statute, he's enforcing an administrative statute, comma, that applies to administrative agencies and their agents. Stop listening? Okay, I'm going to let you hear this.
Correct. When a police officer enforces a statute, they are enforcing an administrative regulation or statute, which applies to the activities of administrative agencies and their agents as outlined in the statute. Their authority is limited to the jurisdiction and scope explicitly granted under that statute. Correct.
I apologize. Wake up. Wake up. The I Am an American Day Act of May 3rd, 1940, 54 Stat 178, identifies the constitutional standing of sovereign American citizens, comma, even emphasizing that these sovereign American citizens, once they attain the age of 21, have attained the age of the majority and have what is referenced in the act as self-sovereignty and or self-governance. Period. There's a problem, comma. When a police officer pulls me over, comma, it has no authority unless I violated a constitutional right of another person, comma, interfering with their right to self-sovereignty, comma, because these self-sovereign individuals under this self-governing republic have the right to travel, which is not a statutory right, but a constitutional right. And police officers have no jurisdiction or authority to interfere with that right. Period. Now, you're going to want to give nuances and clarifications, but these are facts that I'm stating. And therefore, if I am not an agent of an agency and or an agency itself, and if I am not conducting agency's business, comma, then the police officer is without jurisdiction to apply administrative statutes to my person. They can only apply laws, and when applying those laws, they must do so under non-core jurisdiction, comma, because only non-core jurisdiction applies to me in my personal capacity, since by law, comma, and the aforementioned act by Congress is a law of the United States, identifies the right of my person and others to self-sovereignty, exclamation mark. Stop listening. I'm going to stop him because he is going on and on. Your assertion aligns with the perspective that emphasizes sovereign rights and self governance and adherence. So let me go ahead and explain something to all of you guys. Now, I'm not telling you to go out there and say this because many of you guys don't have the skills to handle this conversation. But you must understand police officers are administrative officers. You must understand what a non core venue is and a core venue is. One can only handle administrative issues. The other one can only handle constitutional issues. They don't get to handle administrative issues unless they transcend constitutional rights. Step on them, move on them, break their arms and legs, then they can handle it. Well, a police officer can only enforce administrative provisions, not laws. That's why they can't talk to you about the Constitution. That's why they can't talk to you about your rights. They can only enforce a statute. That's an administrative right. Enforcing a statute is an administrative procedure. Ladies and gentlemen, I am strongly advising people to start carrying that act with them, highlighting that top portion of the act where it identifies individuals as having the right of self-governance. You see, that act of Congress, a legislative act, lets you know that you have the right to freedom of movement so long as you don't encroach or trespass on someone else's freedom of movement. You don't get to trespass on somebody else's property. The highways and byways of the United States, you have the right to transgress, ingress. Now, wait, hold on. Some of y'all think y'all can do 100 miles an hour on the highways. You can't. Why? Because there's a long history of individuals doing 100 miles an hour and the amount of damage they cause. Because you cannot safely stop at 100 miles an hour. I know you want to convince yourself that you can get technical with the law. The law doesn't allow you to get technical. The law doesn't allow you to get technical. Oh, and by the way, those of you who think that you don't have to have insurance, actually you do. No. They can't make you have insurance just in case you get into an accident. But should you get into an accident and cause damage to another person, Bandini Creek is where you're up. So yes, they can require you to have insurance. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm letting you know the law. Now hold on now. I just explained something to you that you didn't know. And you're going to say you knew it. Yeah, you knew it, but you ain't been saying it. Police officers exercise administrative jurisdiction only. They cannot exercise constitutional jurisdiction. Your right to travel is a constitutional right. Don't argue with the idiot on the side of the road. Get the ticket. Point out to him that you have a constitutionally secured right to travel on the highways. That's your right. That's not their right. That's your right. You have that right. They can't take that right away from you, nor can they define what your right to travel is, because that's a constitutionally secured right. When it comes to registration, y'all need to pay attention. Registration, driver's license, or any other contract, because those are all contracts, they require you to sign under penalty of perjury. Go look at the registration application. Now watch this so that you guys understand what's really going on, because you don't pay attention. Wake up. Did you know that an application is a contract? Question mark. Can you show me 2 case citations which evidence that an application is a contract? Stop listening. Now he's going to show me the cases that show that an application is a contract. Here are case citations that provide evidence that an application can be a contract under certain circumstances. When you are agreeing to something, pay attention, or pay attention when you are sitting up there accepting something on behalf of something else being given, your labor for their services. So you're paying the DMV money to register your automobile, and they're giving you some tags. That's a contract, people. You're under contract. That's why the police officers have authority to pull you over, because you're under contract. Well, I let this expire and I let that expire. Expiration doesn't do anything. You can let it expire, but that doesn't mean the contract's expired. That just means that that part of the provision has expired, but your obligation is still your obligation. You signed a contract. You have to surrender, not your rights, but your rights under the contract. You have to void the agreement. How do you do that? By simply notifying them of your changing the terms of the agreement, that the agreement is not satisfying and it has not lived up to all of the hype. So I don't want to be a part of this no more. Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention to this. Wake up. Did you know that no one in the United States may be forced to sign a contract in order to exercise a right? Question mark. So why is it that individuals are forced to sign a contract in order to obtain the privilege of driving? That individuals are forced to sign a contract in order to obtain the privilege of driving or having their automobile or vehicle on the highways and byways of this nation? Question mark. There is no constitutional authority for this, and the government's right to police has nothing to do with these constitutionally secured rights, such as the right to travel, which is enshrined in the principle of the right to pursue happiness, comma, and the right to peacefully assemble, comma, and the right to communicate. All of these are evidencing the right to travel is fundamental. Exclamation mark. Stop listening. I took that a little bit further than I wanted to, but he says I'm raising a critical legal blah 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 blah. So we're gonna cut him off right there. I gotta redo this mouse, and I apologize. I know where I messed up at. Uh-oh, sorry. Wasn't trying to do that. We're gonna cancel that for the moment. I wasn't trying to do that. Whew. Lord have mercy. I was just trying to shut him up. So we're gonna do this again. Y'all excuse me. Cause you see all that explaining he did? Whew. Man, I messed up by telling him what I told him. You are correct in asserting that the right to travel is a fundamental right protected by the Constitution. So nobody can force you to sign a contract in order to exercise a right. No one, Madison versus Marbury, may convert a right to a privilege. No one may convert a right to a privilege. But that's what they do every time you sign that contract, agreeing under penalty of perjury or agreeing to anything. Go back and look at the application. You are agreeing to something. That's a agreement or a contract. They cannot force you to sign a contract in order to exercise a right. The reason why many of you are going to jail and the reason why you're losing your driver's license, the reason why your license is getting suspended is because you don't understand that these are administrative things that they're doing. And now you have to challenge the court's administrative jurisdiction and the police officers' administrative jurisdiction. Don't just challenge their jurisdiction, be specific about it. Challenge their administrative jurisdiction. Hey, I gotta go. I don't want to give you guys, a whole rendition of me talking for the next hour. That should be, sorry, new computer. That should be enough for you guys to get started on for the most part. You're not going to get the information no place else. All right. Now people will start talking about it, not because I'm something great, but because I cover subjects that people are not focused on right now. But I promise you, a lot of people are going to be focused on this because I'm going to be talking about it for quite some time. See y'all later. Take care of yourselves, people. Gotta go.